The biggest lie they ever whispered in your ear is that respect is earned through kindness, tolerance, and continuous dialogue. They told you to be understanding, to lower your guard and set a good example. But look around you, the good are being devoured alive. While you try to prove your worth by being reasonable, ordinary people test your limits, step on your shadow, and still smile in your face. Disrespect is never an accident, it's a test, a silent and brutal calculation of dominance that happens every day, in your work environment, in your friendships, within your own home. And every time you react with impulsive and uncontrolled anger, or worse, with the cowardly silence that you try to disguise as patience, you lose ground. You hand over your throne to utterly mediocre people. You feel that wound, don't you? The suffocating pain of not being taken seriously, of opening your mouth to speak and being cut off in half. The subtle look of mockery, the ironic joke, that cheap familiarity that crosses the line of what's acceptable. This pain destroys your self-confidence and corrodes your spirit from within. It's the world rubbing in your face that, at that moment, you're the weak link in the room. But Niccolò Machiavelli understood a dark law that the masses refuse to accept. Human beings only truly respect what they fear, or what they are incapable of deciphering. Respect is not asked for, not begged for, and not negotiated. It is imposed, not with the cries and scandals of a wounded childish ego, but with a mental architecture so cold, so dense and impenetrable that the other retreats by pure instinct even before you need to move a single piece on the board. Now I will show you the true mechanics of power. I will give you the code of conduct of the sovereign mind to crush the audacity of others. You will no longer react with emotion but with calculation. You will learn to use indifference as an ice fortress and your mere presence as a guillotine. But this is just the beginning. What you're about to discover changes all the rules of the game. You believe that disrespect is about the other person, about their bad manners, or about a simple character flaw. Understand this now. Disrespect is about you, or rather about what you project. In nature, a predator doesn't attack its prey because it hates it. It attacks because it has detected a vulnerability. Human beings function in exactly the same way. Every social interaction is a subconscious radar in operation. People are constantly launching small probes to measure your resistance. They test your tone of voice, the firmness of your gaze, and above all, your reaction to the first sign of invasion of space. What most people don't realize is that disrespect begins long before the direct offense. It begins with their desperate need to be agreeable. Machiavelli was surgical. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is a bond of gratitude that men, being miserable, break whenever it suits them, but fear is maintained by a dread of punishment that never fails. When you're too nice, you put it till you become predictable. And what is predictable doesn't generate mystery or authority. It generates boredom and exploitation. The powerful don't deal with disrespect by trying to educate others. They deal with it by altering their own frequency. They understand that excessive familiarity is the poison of authority. If people feel they can touch your ego, they will inevitably try to break it. The mechanics are simple and cruel. Those who don't impose invisible limits end up surrounded by visible walls. Disrespect is merely a symptom that you have allowed your image to become commonplace, cheap, and accessible. While you seek approval, the sovereign seeks strategic distance. He knows that the aura of power is built in the vacuum of what he doesn't say and in the space of what he doesn't allow. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now I'm going to show you the mistake that destroys almost everyone. When an offense occurs, what is your first instinct? Your blood boils. The need to justify yourself, to prove the other person wrong, takes over your mind. You raise your voice, use sarcasm, try to give a moral lesson, or engage in a shallow debate to try to save your honor, and this is exactly where you lose everything. The most lethal mistake is the emotional reaction. Understand this once and for all. Impulsive anger is not a demonstration of strength. It is clear proof of your weakness. When you react, you are silently telling your aggressor, "You have the power to alter my mental state. Your offense affects me. My emotional control is in your hands." You descend from your throne of rationality to wrestle in the mud with fools. The average person reacts because their fragile ego cannot bear the weight of the affront. They bark loudly because they are internally vulnerable. The provocateur doesn't want to debate the truth with you. They want to drain your energy. They throw out poison bait, and you, like a needy prey, bite the hook. By trying to defend yourself reactively, you only validate the attack and the size of the aggressor. Being reactive is being a puppet in the hands of mediocre minds. It's handing over the keys to your psychological fortress for free. Every desperate word that comes out of your mouth in the heat of the moment is a crack in the armor of your power. Without understanding this, You remain just a pawn on someone else's chessboard. But true sovereignty operates on another level. Now comes the part that changes everything. The strategic breakthrough isn't about shouting the loudest or having the most brilliant comeback ready. True dominance is built on calculated silence and an empty gaze. The sovereign doesn't descend into the arena to fight the fool. He merely observes from above, unreachable. When disrespect crosses your path, the most lethal and terrifying weapon you possess is the absolute absence of emotion. If someone tries to belittle you with a provocation or a veiled attack, don't laugh. Don't justify yourself. Don't retaliate. Just fix your gaze deep into the aggressor's eyes. Maintain a heavy, glacial silence for 3 or 4 seconds longer than usual. Let the silence suffocate the atmosphere like an anchor, crushing the insolent person's chest. The discomfort is no longer yours, it has been transferred to the invader. The common man, weak and needy, hates the vacuum. He throws poison hoping for a reaction, a counterattack, any crumb that proves he managed to affect you. When you deny this validation, you become an icy mirror reflecting the insignificance of the other. He realizes he threw a stone into an abyss and didn't even hear an echo coming back. This is the unbreakable stance of power. You punish audacity by depriving it of its energy. The king doesn't draw his sword to cut off the head of the court jester who has overstepped the mark. He simply erases him from his reality. You cease to be a reactive prey and become an insurmountable wall and a dangerous enigma, but there's a much deeper layer to it. The real war in the end was never against them. The real war was never against the insolent person who tries to belittle you. The bloodiest battle takes place in the abyss of your own mind. If the disrespect of others still hurts you, if a cursed word steals your peace and alters your pulse, the fault is not in the poison they threw, it's in the open wound that you refuse to heal. The root of all your vulnerability has a clear name: the validation vacuum. Arthur Schopenhauer diagnosed this human misery perfectly. Almost all our suffering stems from the slavish preoccupation with the opinions of others. You surrender your crown the moment you allow your identity to depend on the applause or acceptance of shallow people. As long as you nurture this grotesque need for recognition, you will remain an easy target. The fragile ego shatters at the first provocation. The average person demands that the world express their worth because, deep down, they themselves are haunted by their own insecurity. The sovereign individual has already solved this equation in silence. They would never expect sheep to validate the wolf's territory. To shield your mind, you need to commit an internal psychological assassination. Kill without any mercy your need for approval. Build a mental empire so brutally founded on your own discipline and coldness that the affront of a fool is merely dust beating against the iron gates of your fortress. Without annihilating this need, no tactic will truly save you, and this is where the theme reveals its true nature, the ultimate domain. From today onward, your attitude changes definitively. You are no longer a reflection of others' expectations, nor a slave to cheap provocations. You become the unshakable rock against which the waves of mediocrity shatter. When disrespect tries to invade the gates of your empire, it will find only the abyss of your silence. A crushing silence from someone who doesn't need to growl to prove they are the true predator of that environment. Let the weak, the impulsive, and the foolish bleed in the arena, fighting over crumbs of ego. Your absolute power now resides in your emotional inaccessibility. You wear the impenetrable armor of indifference and sit on the throne of your own sovereignty. The world never asked permission to devour the vulnerable, so stop offering your neck to the guillotine of the common people. If you have deciphered the dark depths of this code, if you are ready to abandon the herd of the reactive and take absolute control of your mind, mark your territory. Leave the word sovereignty in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and walk with us. We are a lucid, strategic, and awakened minority. From now on, you no longer negotiate with the weak, you reign over them.